Welcome back, everybody. RC here on the grid, and I'm joined this week by Mr. Brad Moore. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Doing all right. How are you?
Doing all right, man. Doing okay. Doing okay. Thanks for asking. You're probably wondering right about now, where's Scott? So
Scott's in Sydney. Yeah, he's there now. He's in Sydney, Australia. He's doing his photo walk down there this weekend on Saturday, October 3rd. The 8th annual Scott Kelby Worldwide Photo Walk.
That's right. If you haven't done so already, let's make sure that we just get most of this stuff out of the way. Make sure you go to www.worldwidephotoWalk.com. So worldwidephotoWalk.com brings you to that one thing. We are almost at 1,000 cities. I think I have it on good intention that we're definitely going to get over 1,000 cities. Close to 20,000 walkers that are doing this all around the world. It's a great cause. It's a great event. Make sure that you take a look at all of this over at worldwidephotoWalk.com. I think it's a great thing.
And one of the big things that we're kind of pushing this year, we did it last year as well, but if you're going to participate, or even if you're not, you don't have to. One of the things we try to do every year is do something to help the kids at the Springs of Hope Orphanage in Kenya. And if you go to the photo walk page, up at the top there's a link that says donate. Just go donate $1. Anything helps. So that's just, we just really want to make sure you know about that.
I'm kind of just playing around with stuff here on set because I'm like, this isn't plugged in. And I get freaked out about any time that I don't have anything plugged in.
You're at 100% power.
I am at 100% power, but it's one of those things where I'm like, I get nervous. It's like, is it going to turn off? Is it going to do something? I have all these cables in the way. Anyway, I think I'm a little bit better now, so I'm good. But that's pretty much what's going on. Now, I want to hijack this for just a couple of seconds, so please bear with me. I'm doing I'm kind of in a little bit of a transition between photo and video. I'm working on both of those spaces, so I spend a lot of time kind of playing with gear, and I got a couple pieces in that I wanted to kind of show you guys just because I want to geek out and just show you. So this right here, I have a carbon fiber tripod. So this is the Benro C373F. So carbon fiber tripod with an S8 head. So this is a pretty beefy head. And I liked it because of, the camera support. I'm doing some stuff with some heavier cameras on the video side. I like these attachments for external arms and all that stuff. The tripod is cool, and we'll talk about the tripod and the head in a little bit, but that's not what I was really excited about. There's a company called Edelkrone, and I'm going to take you to their website so you can take a look at this. These guys have amazing stuff. Their slider, I happen to think that this slider is absolutely brilliant in the fact that you can travel twice the length in a small space. So they do some really cool stuff, and I think that their products are really, really smartly designed. But they just came up with this one product that I thought was cool, and it's called a Quick Release 1. And I have it right here kind of on this camera. Now, the problem that you have with this, so see here, right here, Edelkrone, right? Now, the problem that you run into when you're working in the kind of the video space is that you're using stuff that has different types of plates and different type of plate systems, but you have these screws that are all pretty much standard screws. So they're 1/4-20 screws. So you have all of these different systems to play with. Well, how do you get your one camera, take off a plate, put on a plate, take off a plate, put on a plate? They came out with this thing called a Quick Release Pro, or Quick Release 1. So you mount it onto this thing, right? So you put an Allen key into it, you screw it in, and this is it. Here's my tripod. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna set myself down here. The screws are already there. So what I'm going to do, I'm trying to do this while watching the camera. Once you get it there, you just turn this one thing, and as you turn it, it automatically, now obviously I'm trying to do it and watch what I'm doing at the same time. So I'll go ahead and just.
It's easier than it looks.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, here, let me put it where I know that I can actually see it. And inside of here, you turn it, and it automatically locks, and it connects to it. You want to take it off, you just boop, pull it off, and you're done. I thought that was pretty smart, and it's probably really hard for you to see, but there's actually inside of there's these 3 set screws, or this mechanism that they came up with, and it basically sits on top of that one area. As soon as you get it there, then you just turn, and you lock it. I thought that was neat. So anyway, I'm pretty excited about it. I think it's cool. I think it's going to revolutionize it. We've done some videos. Go take a look at the website. You'll definitely dig it. That's it.
So getting some questions here. What's today's topic?
Okay, so today's topic is the social media roundup. We don't necessarily have a topic as much as we have a chat. We want to have a conversation with you guys about this.
Because we've talked about social media on here before, but we sat down and we were trying to kind of figure out what we're talking about today, and we got into this discussion, and we're like, well, yeah, like I said, we've talked about this before, but I think we can approach it from a little different angle and come at it just from a different perspective than we've come at it before. And I think the overall sort of like theme of it is going to be kind of like, how can you use all these different platforms for personal use versus professional use? Mm-hmm. And as a freelance photographer, is that something, are you only going to show your professional work, or do you want some of your personal life to bleed into that? Mm-hmm. So we're going to get more into that as we go through each kind of platform. But that's kind of the overall topic, is just personal versus professional social media usage.
And I think that's the part that I think is very important for this, because I think what happens is we take a look at this and we're like, well, are you supposed to do it personal? Are you supposed to do it professional? What happens if you keep it too professional? What happens if you go too personal?
Right.
How do you kind of mix that? And is one more appropriate than another on
one platform versus another?
Right. Do you expect people to be more personal on Facebook? Do you expect them to be more personal on Twitter? Is there a difference? I don't know. So we figured we would just go through all of this stuff and we'd have some conversations with you guys. Like, what are you guys using? Like, I've never used Snapchat before, mm-hmm. you know? And I was like, that's kind of like for people taking pictures of their junk and just kind of sharing that. But then you made a conversation about it that I was like, oh my God, that's actually total sense.
Right.
Total sense.
Like, we'll get to it, but like,
so
there's always all these new social media platforms that are launching every month or throughout the year anyway. And you think, oh, that's a new thing. That's just one more thing I have to do. You don't have to use all of it, but you do need to at least understand it before you start talking about it, you know?
Yeah, like this one, like totally you need to use this because it's brand new. It's awesome. It's great. It's ELLO.com. Oh wait, no, this came in for 2 weeks and left, and all of a sudden no one uses it anymore. Gotta have it.
It's one of those things that, like, you see it doesn't hurt to sign up for it, and at least if it does take off, you then have your handle or whatever that you've reserved so that somebody else doesn't take it. But still, I signed up for it, didn't use it. It's one of those things you kind of wait to see if it takes off or not.
Yeah. And it went sadly the way of Google Plus. Google Plus.
Best of intentions.
You could have done good things. Why'd you have to suck so bad? So anyway, why don't we do this before we do anything else? Yeah. We're going to be also, just on a housekeeping note, if you are watching this, make sure you go on Twitter, on Facebook, and tell people to come.
Speaking of social media.
So go on to Twitter, go on to Facebook, and tell people to come to kelbytv.com/thegrid. Join us in the conversation. We want to have a conversation with you. Yeah. What are you using? Are you using Facebook? Are you using Twitter? Are you using Snapchat? Are you using ELLO? What are you working on? And do you use it purely for professional work? Do you use it for personal stuff? What's the mix?
What we're going to talk about today is kind of like how we currently use it, how we could use it. But if you have your own way of using it, we want to hear from you, and maybe you'll influence us and make us realize, oh, we hadn't even thought of that. Yeah. We could use it that way.
So. Yeah, that was totally my moment. Yeah. To you. Like, I'm like, God, I hate it when he makes sense. So it was one of those things. So let's go ahead and take a quick break. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. And when we come back, we'll break these. We'll dive right in. We'll take a look. Personal, professional. What do you do? All right. Stick around. We'll be right back.
I was very, very fortunate to shoot on location at an unbelievable place. The problem was when I posted the shots online, people would go, oh, well, sure, if you get to shoot in a place like that, you can make great shots. They're right. So what we wanted to do in this class is be able to show you how some of those shots were created that looked like they were done in the multi-million-dollar mansion, but we actually did them on an incredibly low budget. All you need to do is be a little clever, and you can create some amazing images.
Hi, I'm Daniel Gregory, a fine art photographer from Seattle, Washington. Join me in my new class where we really kind of leave behind the more technical aspects of photography like f-stops and shutter speed and start to focus on really the introspective side of photography and creating work that matters to you. So join me as I sit down with Mia McCormick, RC Concepcion, where we really look and break down what is the intention and meaning behind your work. I'm Daniel Gregory. Come check out my class on visual literacy and speaking about your work at Kelby 1.
Stop fiddling. We're back. We're live, dude. Stop fiddling with
I'm having fun with this. Anyway, welcome back, everybody, to the Grid RC here with Brad Moore. I just think it's pretty brilliant, dude. I'm like, it's 3 little rings. They turn instead of the actual...
All right, and just
Sorry.
Normally I'm
Sorry.
watching comments on the other set. Scott and RC are over here. Scott's gone. I'm over here, so I'm still monitoring comments. So if I'm like looking down at my computer, I'm not ignoring RC or you guys. I'm actually trying to kind of copy over questions that we're going to answer and comments that you guys are making in the live chat. So
Anyway, let me stop.
Carry this for a second.
Okay,
while
I got
do
it.
this.
All right, so we'll go back to... I'm going to get this out of the way, because if not, I'll just keep playing with it. And I'm like, it's just brilliant
gonna take us off, but I don't have
engineering.
the Allen key.
No, it's just... I like smart stuff. Anyway, let me go back to it. So we're talking about Facebook, all these different social media platforms. Probably one of the first ones that we want to talk about is Facebook. Now, I have Facebook.com. I have my personal page.
Right.
And I have a professional page. So this is my... I don't need to show you my personal page. I can just show you my professional page. And with it, I got to be honest with you. Facebook.com/aboutrc is my professional page. And I'm debating about what do I want to do with it. Like, do I want to kill it? Do I not want to kill it? Do I want to keep it? I find that there is not a lot of interaction that happens in that one space. And I think that that has largely to do with things like EdgeRank when you're working with it. What happens is this: when you post stuff on Facebook, Facebook has turned it into kind of a moving target when you're working with stuff. So you'll add images and you'll add content and you talk about this stuff. And if there's like a high percentage of text versus pictures, or you have to say the right words or do the right things in order for that message to get across to different people. You could have 10,000 people, and at any given point in time, the message that you send out to everybody is limited. So maybe it'll get to 100 people or 200 people, depending on whatever the combination is of what you're talking about, when you're talking about it, how you're talking about it. And all of that stuff is kind of loosely brought into this formula of EdgeRank. And it's a moving target, right? So they're not going to necessarily tell you how to game that system, but what you need to know is that when you're using it, the amount of people that you're actually communicating with is a lot less than you think that it is. And it's designed like that by nature. What they're trying to do is they're trying to say, if you want to talk to more people, you have to pay for it, right? So, and that was like the ultimate gotcha that you get when you work with Facebook, right? And it's the old, there's an adage when you work with any kind of social media platform. It's one of the reasons why I tend to look at social media and I'm just like, I think all of it generally sucks. And not sucks, but just that it's an announcement platform. But I tend to try to keep everybody kind of coming back to my own website and working on stuff on my own website and bolstering up my website. But when you don't pay for a product, you are the product. So what they're doing is they go, hey, it's great, it's wonderful, everybody can have it, billions can have it for free. And you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna amass all these people, all these likes, all these friends. I'm gonna tell them about something, and they're like, You can tell a portion of them something, and you could tell the rest of them if you pay me.
If you promote the post.
If you promote the post. So a lot of the times when you're doing this, you'll see that you have a post that sits here, and there's a section called Boost. And when you click on Boost, they'll turn around and go, all right, well, who would you want to? What is your budget? What is the reach? How long do you want to do it? And then you click on Boost. It's like buying an ad.
Yeah.
Now, is that bad? Is that good? It's not necessarily a bad idea. I think it's actually quite brilliant on Facebook's part to do that.
They got employees. They got to pay.
They got to pay.
Somehow.
They got to pay the rent. They got to pay somebody somehow. So I think that in the end, if it's important enough for you to get that message out, you should pay for that kind of advertising. So that leaves me with my personal page. Now, anytime that I do stuff on my personal page, it's much more limited in scope because there's not that many people that are in it, but the message generally gets out to more and more people. One of the other things that I've noticed when I'm working with it is on both of those, personal versus professional. If I'm talking about something that's professional, there's usually a lot less interactions that happen with this stuff.
Okay.
when I'm working on more personal stuff, more professional stuff like business, like click here, do this, click there, there's a lot less interaction on stuff. If I'm sharing something like a picture or a picture of my life or a picture of something that I'm doing, there's a lot more interaction that happens with that. So I tend not to want to use Facebook. I tend to not to want to use a lot of the social media stuff that I do from a business standpoint of buy my this or work my that or click it. You know, a lot of the times I'm just like, here, I'm doing this over here. It's an announcement platform. But those are two inherent differences. Those are two things. And I think that what's happened with me on the Facebook side is because I start seeing such low interaction unless you pay for it.
Right.
And I start seeing that a lot of the personal and sharing of pictures kind of comes up on the higher than this. Then what I've done is I've dropped a lot of my business stuff. Take a look at this, buy my prints, do all that stuff. All of that stuff is kind of lowered a lot, and I'm just using it to share a lot of personal stuff. And what's happening right now is that I'm doing the exact same thing on almost on both of them.
Okay. And
now I'm at a spot where I'm like,
well, and then the other thing we want to talk about is kind of like with us, with our RC&I, we're full-time employees of Kelby here. So we're not necessarily hustling like a full-time freelance photographer would be. So then when you look at it from that side, if you're hustling and you're trying to get work and stuff, what's the difference there between you and I, who we know where our paycheck's coming from, where, you know, we can use social media if we want to promote ourselves or whatever, but from the freelance side, like what's your perspective there?
And that's the part that I think is wild, because it's like what we do kind of straddles that fence.
Right. Because I do freelance work, and you do too. Yeah. But we're not relying on it.
Exactly, and that's the one thing. Like, I'm not making rent on freelance work,
right,
but I still freelance. Like, I'll go out and I'm making extra money on most of that stuff, or I'll take extra jobs with that. So what happens with this is you kind of sit in this netherworld where I'm like, I don't necessarily have to be like, oh, here's my most recent shoot, or buy my books, or buy my this, or buy my that. We have marketing teams to worry about that we have marketing people to worry about that. We got people that worry about that stuff for me. My job's just to teach. My day job is just to teach. I don't want to get involved in the promotion, the advertising, the sales, or any of that stuff. I just want to teach you. Buy a class. That's all I want to do. Yeah. But that would be very disingenuous for me to turn around and be like, don't share your work. You know, talk about your kids. For somebody who's actually freelancing, because then they're like, yeah, well, it's easy for you to say. You get to go home and get direct deposit. Yeah. So in that space, what happens is, I know that there's a lot of people that use it from a promotional standpoint, but I don't think that they're necessarily going to get that same kind of interaction on Facebook. They're you know, if you're constantly out there going, I know professional photographers in my space on Facebook, people that I know, where I've been like, oh my God, every time I see your stuff, it's just like, buy my this, buy my that, buy my this, buy my that, buy my this, buy my that. Look, here I am. Here's what I'm doing. Buy my this. And I'm just like, shut up. Just shut up. And I'm just like, mute, silence. And I get so tired of listening to the rat race of it. So I'm trying really hard not to get on a soapbox about it, because I'm like, just shut up, everybody. But
I don't know. One of the things you and I talked about before this was, what's the proper mix of personal versus professional? Like, if you're a freelance photographer, one of the things that you're trying to do is get hired, and the people that are doing the hiring, want to know that you are going to be able to consistently produce and deliver good work. So that's the first thing they look at. What type of photographer do we want to hire? We want to hire the type of photographer that does amazing on-location lifestyle work, or in-studio product photography, whatever it is. They know how much interaction they're going to have with you during their time working with you. So they're also looking at, secondly, are they going to get along with you? What kind of interest do you have, maybe outside of photography? If you're going to have a lot of downtime, you're going to be talking, while sets are being set up or whatever. Are you going to be able to get along? Are you going to be able to relate to one another? So then maybe that's where the personal stuff does start to bleed in, and they get to know you, and they know that you've got kids, they've got kids. You can talk about raising kids. You love these bands, and so do they. You can talk about your music interests. It's it's almost like dating. Like you're looking
Date
for the
your
right
clients.
match. You're looking for the right match, and the more they can know about you, the more they can relate to you, and maybe you have that edge over the other photographer they're looking at that just seems like a boring person that doesn't have any interesting interests. So you got to find that balance of, you don't want to be oversharing about, kids throwing up in the middle of the night or whatever. Like, you got to find that line of how much is too much. But if you put enough out there, don't be disingenuous and put fake stuff out there, but be real, and be relatable. So
Right. And that's one of those things where I think that it's funny because it's like we talked about this and I'm like, man, I really would like to talk to people about the differences, right? Like on Facebook, right? Know that there's a business and there's a personal, and this one has less reach and this one has more reach and you got a boost. But it's like the more and more I talk about it, I'm like, the more and more it just feels like noise and just bad noise, just like carnival barker bad noise. And I'm just like, should I just say that and just say that it's a bunch of crap and just move to the next thing? But I don't know. I think that one of the things that I would say is that if you are using it for a living, I would agree with you. You want to make sure that you're kind of striking a balance between who you are and what kind of work do you produce. It's a given that your work is going to take you far.
right.
But you want to be able to show that who you are is going to be something that's going to be consistent. It's going to be a good thing. I still think that your website should do a lot of that stuff.
Right.
I still think that you should have that kind of communication. I'm a big fan of blogging. I'm a big fan of sharing kind of those stories on your website and then telling people on Facebook, hey, come take a look at this thing that I did on my blog, and bring them back over to your property to do that.
So I have an actual real world example of what we just talked about. Back when I worked with Joe McNally, he was hired by FedEx to do a lot of shooting for them. And while we would shoot all day long, we'd be up at the crack of dawn, basically shoot, till basically sunset. But then we would always go out to these dinners with the clients, and Joe was the entertainment for the evening. Like, he has all of these backlog of stories of shoots that he did for National Geographic and Life, and just all these amazing experiences that he's had. And while he was initially hired because of his experience and being able to, they knew that he was going to be able to deliver what they wanted him to deliver. But then once they got on set with him and got to know him and realized, wow, we really like this guy, they continued hiring him.
I just got a call on something that I'm doing in 2 weeks, where the person sent out an email and I was like, hey man, what's going on? They talked to me like they had just met me yesterday. They're like, oh, this is happening, this is this, we went to work on this, we went to speak over here, we went to do this. And I'm like, this person sounds really friendly for a person I've never met before. And they're like, oh, let me back up. You worked with Patrick on a job and he thought that you did great. He thought everything went fine. He thought you were totally cool. He's like, he's got it. Don't worry about it. I just called him.
Yeah.
Like, no bid, no look, no nothing. It was just like literally like, he said you got it, so you got it. Let's start working. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. Yeah. I called him up and I was like, thanks, man. Thanks for the vote. But it's one of those things where it's like who you are within that works a lot. So make sure that you're sharing a lot of who you are within that. So that's that. That's Facebook.
That's Facebook.
Okay. Twitter.
And kind of the overall.
And the overall thing with Facebook. So take us through Twitter.
So Twitter, it's mostly text-based. Like if you look at it, let me make sure I'm doing the right thing here. Where's my AirPlay? Talk for a second. Let me find this. So Twitter
is text-based. 140 characters. You try to get most of your stuff out from there. It's been around forever. I think it's a good thing. You just kicked me off?
Oh.
Okay. No, it's fine. Just take it. Don't worry about it. It's cool.
I'm supposed to be on 1.
Okay.
Holy crap. Now I'm in Scott's office somehow? I don't know.
You're sending your pictures over to Scott's office now? That's
there we go.
Very awkward.
I think we got it.
So let's see. Are we on?
You got it?
On his?
Yes. No, maybe.
No. Not yet. Okay.
So anyway, Twitter's very text-based. So it's kind of, you can share images on there, but they're like you only see part of them, and then you have to click to actually see the full thing if you want to. And so as photographers, I like Twitter whenever there's like some big live event happening, like the Super Bowl or some award show or something, and just following people who are commenting on it. Go to 2? Okay.
Oh, while you're doing that, let me just get a couple comments in here. So 41731 said, you can really damage your reputation if you're seen online professionally and casually, and then you have a complaint about your clientele to those in your non-professional channels. Always be kind and professional. I agree 100%. Facebook is full of potential clients. Yes, Sean Robertson Photography. I would agree. Facebook is full of potential clients. I would just say that in everything, and this is going to be the overarching thing that I'll say, whenever you're working on anything on any social media platform, bring them to your site. You can close so much of this stuff on your site than you can with a place that has a like button and things like that. No one ever talks to me on Bebo anymore. Yeah, it's because nobody uses Bebo.
I know they're not seeing me, so you're going to have to pull up your Twitter.
Oh, okay. But Facebook also has some great groups, like photo reviews started by our own Sean. Facebook groups is something that's kind of picking up a little bit more. You see a lot of community work, a lot of people getting together. It's becoming like the new bulletin board, where people are just kind of arguing and just sending up projects and talking about stuff in collaborations. And unfortunately for me, on the group side, I'll spend a lot of time just kind of going, somebody added me to a group. How do I get out? What's the fastest way for me to get out? Or what's the fastest way for me to turn off my notifications? Yeah. So I'm involved with a whole bunch of groups that I have no idea as to what I'm doing with. But I'm sure they're good. There's nothing wrong. To sum up everything so far, social media is annoying. Just post links to your blog. Yes, 44171. You're absolutely right. Yes, social media is annoying. But you do strike a really good tone when you talk about the concept of Twitter, because Twitter is one of those things that you can kind of watch stuff that's live happening when it's live. So to be able to do that, I think is pretty neat. That's probably the one thing that I think is really cool here. So I'm going to go to twitter.com. Oh, are you up?
They're saying they're not seeing it, so go ahead and...
Okay, I'll switch up on my side.
Disconnect AirPlay.
Go to over here. Go to Twitter. So this is my Twitter account. So it's twitter.com/aboutrc. And let's see. I'm just going to click on refresh in here. And a lot of the times, most of this stuff that sits right here is kind of what I'm looking at. I'll come over here to this one side and just kind of show trends and see what's happening for hashtags. A lot of the times, if I'm following like the CNN debate, what I would do is I would just kind of come on over here and type in CNN, go to CNN debate, and follow everything that's happening during the debate as I'm watching the debate. So I'm beginning to notice more and more, you see it's almost kind of like the live blog or like the live tweet component of an actual event. Yeah. Other than that, I feel like it's like shouting into a vacuum.
So, and with that, like you use the hashtag, and then you can follow other people that are at the same event. And like when we're Photoshop World, if you use the Photoshop World hashtag, you can use Twitter as a way to kind of meet up with other photographers that may be there that you don't know, or Photo Plus or whatever events, if you're at something, that's a good way to use it. But again, it's one of those things of, even like, I always hesitate to share stuff on Twitter, not stuff in general, but like pictures, just because it doesn't really get that much traction, because the pictures, like I said, they show up kind of truncated, if they show up at all, or I don't know, it just doesn't seem like it's very photography friendly to me.
Yeah, and I would probably argue with that. I don't think it's a very photography-friendly platform, and I think it's a very busy platform when you work with it. It's like a lot of the times, it's just so many different people having a conversation. It's like a really complicated game of double dutch.
The camera's over there.
You're sitting there and you're just like, and check out my website. And it's just, I'm just kind of like floating around, like looking. But it's
we
like
have an in-studio
people
guest that you keep looking at.
Oh yeah, no, because he's sitting there, it's like silently going, I agree, I agree. So what happens is, I think Twitter has this giant conversation of stuff that's happening, and you're trying to get in a word in edgewise, and you're just like, oh, take a look at this one thing. Take it. Unless you're a content producer, you're just part of the noise problem. Like unless you're producing really cool stuff, and it has to be cool stuff, and you have to post it to the right spots. What'll happen is you'll be like, here's an amazing picture. Hopefully that gets shared out. But if you're like, oh, I'm hanging out and I'm doing something, it's just noise. It's just a big giant room of
one of the newer features. I wasn't fully paying attention, so forgive me if you already talked about this. But one of the newer features they have is like this while you're away thing, that if you don't check for a while, when you do go back on and check, like up at the top of your feed, it'll say, while you're away, here were some of the more popular things that happened with the people that you interact with most. So like if somebody tweeted something that got a lot of retweets or whatever, like you can see that, but that still doesn't show you everything. So yeah.
No, here's a good question that just came in. Johan Stoop, RC and Brad, which one do you think is better, Flickr or 500px?
And see, that's one of the things I kind of put at the end of the outline, because Flickr, like, we'll get to it. Just know that we're going to get to that.
Okay, good. So. Flickr, so we do have to answer that question. I think we have some stuff on that.
There were a lot of questions on Instagram. We're also getting to that. Jeremy Green asked, how do you separate your personal and professional work when you're just starting out, especially if you're trying different types of photography? And to that, I would say you probably don't have to worry about separating too much until you get to a point where you have a lot of people that are paying attention to what you're doing, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, if you're just starting out, you're probably sharing with your family and friends and everything. But then once you start getting attention from people that you don't know, if your work's getting out there to those people, then you might want to worry about setting up a separate thing just for your professional stuff.
Somebody just said, I smell like taco meat. And I'm like, that's racist.
What?
I don't know, dude. It's the chat. Sometimes they just get
they
get a little unruly in the chat.
UF Photography asked, how much sense does it make to create content, photos, blog posts, etc., and then share it on multiple social media platforms? I mean, do you guys post the same thing over and over, or do you kind of target the platform with the text you're putting with the link to your content? I have many automatisms, so like automatic stuff set up to for example, to post to Instagram and post an Instagram photo to Twitter and Tumblr in the moment.
Right. So it's kind of like that robo posting almost.
Well,
so like IFTTT stuff where you could.
I think in this example he's talking about, like, if he posts a photo to Instagram, there's also an option to share to Facebook, to Twitter, to Tumblr, to like, so you don't have to go to those platforms and post them there. It automatically you connect your accounts to Instagram, and it automatically does it for you.
I try really hard. I'm not very successful at it, but I try really hard to make sure that the content that I'm doing is somewhat different between the two.
Okay.
Right? Like the blog will be, my blog is kind of generally where I put a story about what I'm working on.
Okay.
So I'll say, this is the picture that happened. This is the story behind it. This is how I felt about it, personal and professional, or both of those. It's just, for me, it's just a collection of stories. From there, I try not to get into a lot of interactivity when I'm doing a post on the blog. Like, there'll be some general comments, and I'll answer Q&As on my blog for that. But what I'll do is I'll usually post that stuff on my Facebook page to get some sort of comment stream that's going back and forth. So I'll say on Facebook, I'll be like, I posted this over on the blog, and this is kind of what's happening. Then that kind of creates that kind of balance between where the post is and people that are discussing that. On Twitter, I tend to be very, very quick about most of that stuff. And I try not to post the exact same thing on all three of the platforms, because I think that people will see through that, and they'll just see that it seems a little lazy, where you're just like, click, you share everywhere, and then people are like, well, I already follow him here, and it's the same thing, so why don't I just unfollow it or just check out of that one other thing? So those would be probably the two. So I think that Twitter largely, to me, feels like shouting instead of a vacuum. It's like I'll be like, hey, tune in. Hey, come take a look at this one picture. And I know that it's like in 10 seconds, 15 seconds, somebody's stream is just going to be flooded with something else, and it's just going to go scroll right by. So it's an announcement platform. I'll just be like, go take a look at this. And what I'll do is, for me on Twitter, what I'll do is if I post something at midnight, I'll come in the morning and I'll just write, hashtag, in case you missed it, ICMY, and I'll say, this is what was happening. Go take a look at it again. And then at the end of that, at the end of the day, I'll be like, listen, last post of the day, this is what's happening with this. So I'll do 3 posts that talk about the individual thing, knowing full well that what's happening is that stuff gets drowned out. Mm-hmm. And then I'll try to measure most of that stuff throughout the day.
So for me, like, everybody has Facebook. I have a Facebook account. It's purely like personal stuff. It's friends, family, whatever. if you've requested, if you've sent me a friend request, I'm sorry. I have like hundreds of unanswered friend requests, but that I don't really ever post to Facebook. Very rarely do I. Most of what shows up on my Facebook comes in from my Twitter and Instagram. So I have it set up so that anytime that I tweet, it automatically posts to my Facebook. Anytime I post a picture to Instagram, I also choose Facebook, but I generally don't choose Twitter. Every once in a while I will, not often. And for Instagram, my strategy, who knows if this will stick, but I just decided I'm only going to post professional stuff there. So, pictures that I've taken at concerts, portraits, stuff like that. Then I told people, that's what I'm going to be doing here. If you want more personal things, go find me on Snapchat, because then you can follow me there. You don't have to worry about finding me on Facebook or whatever. And then Twitter, I rarely use anymore, but that's where I have the most followers. But again, it's text-based, so I don't really use it all that much. So that's kind of my personal strategy. Whether that's right or wrong, I don't know. But I've been seeing a lot about how professional photographers have used Instagram they've been found by new clients there because of all their consistency of posting and the quality that they post. And so like the people that I've seen that have become successful through Instagram, if you look at their feed, it's, I would say, at least 90 to 95% professional work being posted. So,
which I think is kind of weird, because it's like that's really anti what it was supposed to be about.
But again, we talked about this yesterday.
It's transformed.
There's whenever these new things first come out, they're known for a certain thing. But then over time, people hijack it and use it for whatever they want, Instagram is not just iPhone pictures. If that's what you want to use it for, you can. Mm-hmm. But for me, if I want to post a concert picture, I'll edit it on my laptop, I do my usual edit, and then I will put that on Dropbox, download it to my phone, and then post it to Instagram.
Right.
And it's not just square pictures anymore. That was one thing that was very limiting, was you could only post square pictures. So then app developers like InstaSquare or Square Ready became apps that people would download, put their pictures in there, condense it down so that you still keep the perspective, but it puts it in a square that then you can post to Instagram. Mm-hmm. So now Instagram has changed that. They listened and they changed it so that you can have the rectangular post. So
Instagram's like the new Flickr, if you will. It's
Possibly.
Become like the new Flickr for the most part.
I think that apps are becoming more and more popular with people's phones rather than having to go to a website to find something. People are just downloading apps now instead of bookmarking websites.
See, and I've never really given Instagram a lot of thought with my stuff. Like of all of the platforms that I think that I have from an interactivity standpoint, Instagram's probably the one that I use the least.
But it's the only one that is based on photography.
Yeah, and it's the one that I use. It's the one that is used the least. And I think, I remember at one point telling people, I was like, I will sooner jab a Wacom stylus in my eye than use Instagram, because I just didn't like the effect. I didn't like what was happening with it. And so this is my Instagram account. So I think it's like instagram.com/aboutrc. And let me just take a look at it here real quick. Yeah, it's like 1,700 followers. Like I barely touch this thing. I don't know can they see it or can they not see it? Or,
you want to?
Yeah, I'll switch.
I just got into one.
I just tried to kick you off of one. But I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, I barely use it. Let's see. Yeah, I'm switching to 2 real quick here.
Sorry for our technical difficulties.
Yeah, it just seems like these things just kind of sporadically want to work. But anyway, I never used it. And the reason I didn't use it was because I was just tired of it. I mean, I was doing stuff on Facebook. It's just social media fatigue. I think I'm kind of teetering on the edge of a social media burnout right now. And it's one of those things where I have a theory, but we'll talk about that later. So I rarely use this thing. I don't do anything with it. And the only reason that I started using it is because I do a lot of stuff with a company called Oloclip. Mm-hmm. I'm a big fan of Oloclip. I'm a big fan of what they do in terms of lenses for your phones and things like that. And a lot of the stuff that they put on their website for feed was picked up off of the Instagram feed. So in order for me to be able to kind of show my stuff that I was doing with them, because I'm a big evangelist for them, I love their stuff, I was like, all right, fine, I'll log in and I'll take a look. Oh, looks like we're up on yours.
Got mine up, yeah. So like this was the point where I said, okay, from here on out, it's just going to be professional, like actual work. So this is, you know, you're looking at this on my laptop, but it is mostly phone based. You can look from your laptop at stuff, but you can't post from your computer. You have to post from your phone. So, you know, it's just back here. It's mostly fun stuff, but yeah. So again, I'm not great about consistently posting here, but.
Well, okay, while you said that, we were talking about the concept of posting consistently. I saw something that I thought was really cool.
Okay.
I think it was Sean Robertson that had said it. Stephanie A. Richard said, RC, do you post material that comes along, or do you choose a day and make it a post to prep a blog post on that?
I think it's best if you do, like if you're really wanting to make a go at this and do it right, I think it is best if you try to stick to a schedule of, I'm going to post every day, 3 days a week, whatever. But then if something comes up and you're like, oh, I want to post this, but it's not my day, go ahead and post it. Like, you don't have to be so strict about it that you're going to, you know, it's better to set a goal to post, say, once a week, 3 times a week, whatever, and then be able to post more than that, than tell people I'm going to post every day and then you don't. But I think Scott, since he's started more seriously using Instagram, I believe that he tries to post one picture a day at least.
Yeah, and see, and that's the one thing. Like right now, I'm in the process of writing the second edition to Get Your Photography on the Web. Right, so it's the book that teaches photographers to get a website and blah 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 blah. Mm-hmm. And I remember that in the first version of the book, I was kind of that person who turned around and said, you need to go out and you need to be able to post 3 days a week so that people can come for 3 days a week, or that they're having this conversation for 3 days a week. And I'm kind of in a bit of a limbo. I'm just, like, full disclosure, it's kind of that burnout point. And I'm very unhappy about a lot of different things. So it's just kind of, after a couple weeks, it's just kind of blah, all coming out. I don't know how I feel about that anymore. I don't know how I feel about whether or not it's actually important to post 3 days a week, because here's what people don't tell you about the posting 3 days a week. You set up a schedule and you go 3 days a week. I'm going to do 3 days a week. I'm going to do 3 days a week. I'm going to do 3 days a week. And you do it for a while. And then all of a sudden, you get to a spot where you're like, oh my God, 6 months later, I need something for day 2 and day 3 of the 3 days a week. And you know what happens? You start phoning it in. And you're like, now here's something here's something that I saw that was different for this one thing. Click. I don't even care about what I just said. I just wanted to be able to post it 3 days a week. And when you put yourself into that kind of schedule, we're the only people as photographers that actually say to ourselves, we need to go out and be able to do it. We need to go out and be able to do it. We tell people in photography that only the best images matter. However, we tell people every picture that you post should be the best picture that you ever do.
It's not realistic.
And it's just one of those things. It's an unrealistic expectation for yourself as a person. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the times what I did was I just said, you know what, screw it. Like, I'm tired of, why would I want to use my properties or my blogs or any of this kind of stuff to be able to show anybody something other than I'm not? And if all of a sudden I'm talking about stuff and I'm like writing something for the sake of just writing something, who cares? Like, why would I do that at all? Why would I take care of that? So on my blog and on my Facebook page and all of these other things, I write about stuff that I think is important to me. I get excited about the things that I talk about. Yeah. Like, I'm really pumped about the entire Edeltrum thing. Not because they're an advertiser, not because they're a sponsor, but because I think it's cool, the fact that they thought about how to do that. It's the reverse of a screw. And I'm like, that kind of stuff is cool. And what happens is you lose that material gets lost in a sea of, I gotta post 3 days a week. And you start creating dumb content for dumb things. There's people out there that are just posting. It's like, welcome to my Instagram channel, and I'm doing this, and look at this one thing. And I'm just like, shut up. It gets so annoying.
He's
and
cranky
so
today,
boring.
isn't he, guys?
So anyway,
I get what you're saying though. It's the thing of.
So I post when I want. I
Right.
post when I see. If I have a picture, I post the picture. If I don't have a picture, I don't post the picture. Guess what? When I have a good picture, you'll know it.
You'd rather have quality over quantity.
Yeah, and you know what? And I think people, we're gonna get to a point where people are gonna see through the crap. People are gonna see through the flicker. People are gonna see through most of that stuff. People are gonna see that people are stack loading their Instagram things for stuff that they did 2 years ago and 3 years ago and 5 years ago, and it's all just being recycled in one giant mess to be able to keep some sort of image about what you're supposed to do. And it's like, who cares? So at the end of the day, I'd rather just produce cool stuff and share it when it's out there than
I see what you're saying.
personal. That's that balance.
I'm going to make one comment about that, and we'll take a quick break. I don't have a problem with people posting old content necessarily. Like, I have a ton of pictures on my website that if people want to go see them, they can go see them. But how many people are really going to the archives on my website to look at the work? So personally, I have no problem pulling from a show that I shot 2 years ago and saying, hey, here's a cool shot that I did that you may not have seen before. So were you talking about me?
No.
You said all that?
No.
Huh?
I'm just talking about in general. But here's the thing. My thing with you, or my not problem with you, but one of my things with you, and I like how to set it up because it's like, now you got to watch. But there isn't a person that hasn't gone out there. And I know a lot of photographers that have done really good runs of most of this stuff, and people are like, oh, it's because he's active on Facebook. Oh, it's because he's active on Twitter. Oh, because it's active on this. And I'm like, no, it's because he's really good. It's because she's really good. Dixie Dixon is as good as she is because she's Dixie Dixon. What she does in the camera is really good. Jeremy Coward is really good. No one knew who Joey Lawrence was for the longest time. He doesn't do that much Twitter now. And people are like, that guy's amazing. Do you know why? Because he's amazing. And I think we lose that. And all of a sudden, what happens is we jump into the rat race of social media about post this and post work and post commercial, post what you're doing, post recently, and you just become like a huckster. All you're doing is just buy now, buy now, buy now, buy now, buy now. And it's just like, it's very frustrating. And I argue that the personal side of things, I think, is something that misses a lot. That's one of the reasons I'm a big fan of Jeremy Coward. Jeremy Coward posts work, and he puts a lot of himself out there. And I think that stuff is very, very important when you do that.
Nobody's going to hire Jeremy and be surprised at what they're getting if they're even vaguely familiar with what he does online, because you know what. Like if you follow Jeremy, he has he posts pictures of his kids. He tells stories about shoots that he's done. He just recently was doing coverage with the Pope, and you know what you're getting when you hire Jeremy, even as a person. So
and I think that what happens with most of this stuff, and just to evolve it, and we're going to go into a break, is what will happen here. And I think that you're going to see a shift in social media between audience and engagement, and you're seeing that more and more. I think that what everybody's trying to do right now is trying to be able to set messages out to the largest amount of people that are out there that are possible, and what they're not realizing is that those huge numbers have very small returns because people are tired of listening to your crap. What happens with most of this stuff is I think you need to come up with a balance and become a little bit more personal in that kind of stuff, have a much smaller set of people, and have those people be very excited about what it is that you're trying to do. And that is a level of engagement that then you could use. If you want to use it as a business, you can use it as a business. You can tell people, I am using this as a business, and people will be like, cool, that's okay. I understand you got to be able to do this as a business. You can use it from a marketing standpoint. You can use it from a personal standpoint. And I think that that's kind of where we're supposed to go. At least I hope. But anyway, let's take a quick break. My rant's going to be over. I'm going to get another cup of coffee. And then we'll come back.
You do not need more coffee.
Just a small one. Just a small one. But then what we'll do is we'll come back, and I want to talk about probably one of the last ones that we'll do is we'll talk about Snapchat.
And then we'll kind of touch on Flickr 500px.
Flickr 500px. So Snapchat is one of those things where it was just like,
we'll get there. Don't worry about it. Break. Go on.
I'm going to go take a Snapchat picture of my junk.
Hey folks, Booze Peterson, high over North Dakota for Kelby One, bringing you a great new class on air-to-air teach you so much great stuff about working with pilots, aircraft, safety, and most importantly, staying alive. So come along for the ride. Hey, what happened to the fan?
Create your own space at squarespace.com.
Hi Kelby One, I'm John Keatley. Welcome to my West Seattle studio. Today I'm going to be sitting down with Mia and we're going to be talking about key concepts for running a successful, thriving business for photographers.
We're also going to go over what John's exact yearly income is and how he spends every dollar, even the profits.
But not really, right?
Well, then we're going to get all of the cell phone numbers for the biggest VIPs that work for the biggest brands that he shoots for.
I'm not doing that.
And finally, we are going to show you how he uses his dog to hypnotize major clients in meetings.
Are we rolling? Is this for real?
Come on, it's going to be fun.
Are we going to do that again?
Welcome back, everybody. RC here with Brad Moore. I'm a little bit calmer now.
Did you have like a shot of whiskey or something instead of the coffee?
No.
Was it Irish coffee?
Irish. There's a little bit left there. But anyway, I'm going to put that away.
So, Snapchat.
Oh, but before we go to Snapchat, can I share about one thing? Can I geek out about one thing?
Do it.
If you've noticed, I'm kind of teetering on a near meltdown about this. Where has this all come from? As a photographer, and I want you to go to Kelby One. I want you to go to the Kelby One website, and in the recent classes, we just did a class called Visual Literacy with Daniel Gregory. So go over to the Kelby One classes, take a look at the Explore classes, one of the first brand new classes, and I want everybody to see this one class. It's called Visual Literacy with Daniel Gregory. Click on that one class. Daniel is a guy who I've known for a very long time. He's a good friend of mine. He's also a person who just did a guest blog post on Scott Kelby's blog. And he is a guy that talks to you about not composition, not the rule of thirds, not what do you use your shutter, not what do you use your aperture, but he talks about how do you get yourself to connect with your own work. This is super high brain stuff, right? And basically, we had this conversation a couple years ago at Photoshop World because I was explaining to him or talking to him about some of my problems with my work. I shoot, I do this, and he's like, you need to be able to find a way to have words to connect with your own thing. And he's talking to me about this class, and I'm like, I bet you that there's tons of people that understand shutter, aperture, white balance, crop, understand Lightroom, look at their work and go, I don't know where I'm supposed to be going with this. I don't know what it is that I'm supposed to be shooting with this. I don't feel connected to it. It doesn't feel representative of me. I'm doing everything right. So what's wrong? And so me and McCormick went out to Seattle to talk about that with him. And in the process of it, I was going out there because I wanted to do some wet plates, separate, completely unrelated. And I'm sitting with him, and in the middle of dinner, he sits around and he goes, he's talking to me about all of this stuff. And I was like, I gotta be honest with you. I don't feel like I've actually shot anything worth a damn in 2 years. I've shot maybe 3-4 pictures that I like. I'm like, I like the HDR. It's cool. It's fun. But it's like, it's all right. I've been wanting to bail on HDR for like 2 years. I haven't shot anything that I've been really excited about in 2 years. I look at my camera and I'm like, oh, where do I go? What do I do? I feel like I've been in such a creative rut. I've picked up a couple pictures here and there, but mostly I'm like, I hate my work. I think my work sucks. I don't like it. I don't like doing all this stuff. I was like, my friend Gabriel was in my house and he's like, you know, when I shoot at the RC level and when I shoot this and when I do this at RC, like I'm not at your level. And he left and I was talking to my wife and I was like, does he know how much I hate my work? Does he know how much I think I suck at this? And Daniel's like, why don't you come on to the class and talk to people about it? And I was like, okay. And so I sat there. It's a very uncomfortable moment, but I think it's something that I think is very important for people to hear. I think it's important for people to hear that you can get disconnected with your work. I think it's important for people to hear that you have to have a path on how to be able to do it. And I believe that Daniel and Mia really knocked it out of the park in that class. So if you are feeling a lot like I do sometimes, make sure that you go take a look at that class over at Kelby One. I think you're going to absolutely love it.
All right, now Snapchat.
Now Snapchat. So Snapchat is what you use when you want to send people pictures of your and have them disappear. At least that's what I thought. And then Brad's like, blah, 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 blah. We have to talk about this. We have to talk about that. We have to talk about Snapchat. I was like, why am I talking about Snapchat? I don't even have Snapchat on my computer, on my phone. That's just going to get me in trouble.
And that's
the look that you gave me right there when you were looking at me. He's like, wow, old man. Old. He's like, wow, Grandpa, you don't even use Snapchat.
Well, and he shot it right back to me. He was like, how old are you? You're over 30, right? Because you're not a young kid anymore. I'm like, yes, I know. But that doesn't mean that I can't be educated and stay relevant with what's happening on social media.
Don't throw that down. You're one step away from the old man at the club, baby. Come on, man. So,
yes, originally when Instagram came out, it was a check-in app. Mm-hmm. It's who uses it for checking in anymore? Nobody. It's
That's what Foursquare's for. Wait, do people still use Foursquare?
Maybe. Who knows? So, again, Snapchat, when it came out, that's what people thought it was. And I'm sure to some extent it was and probably still is. But when you look at it now and realize, oh, CNN is using it, National Geographic is using it, like all these legitimate news outlets and publications that are using it to reach in a younger audience, they're posting content to it that you can go on and look. You know, it's not just that anymore. It's becoming more popular and more mainstream and whatever. So I heard Gary Vaynerchuk talking about it, and he was saying that if he were to talk to photographers, the one app that he would tell them they need to be on is Snapchat, because it's not a stream of content that you're just scrolling through and trying to get through to get caught up. You know, the people that you're friends with on there that you follow, so there's kind of a few different ways you can use it. You can send stuff directly to people that you're friends with, that are friends with you, and you can pick, you know, how long you want to show up and write stuff on it or put a text, or there's different graphics and stuff that you can go over the picture if you want. But then there's also the My Story, which is kind of like your public feed of, you know, what you want to share with people. So when you do that, then people see, okay, well, Amy posted this, you know, Bobby posted this, whatever. Like, they see that you've posted, and if they're going to look at it, it's not just going to be them streaming through. Like, they're actually tapping on it and seeing what you're posted. So as he said, it's almost guaranteed consumption. So again, it's one of the newer platforms, so there's not as many people on it, but the people that are on it are going to be looking at what you're posting, and then you can actually see how many views you get, who viewed what, and all that. And your story can be as long as you want it to be. And there's people that I follow that I'm like, dude, stop posting so much stuff. But you know, you can tap it and just see it, and you know that whoever's looking at it is looking at it, right, consuming it.
So, but you have to amass a following to then tell people, right, I posted something new.
It's just like any new platform. When Twitter came out, I remember being at dinner with this guy and some other guys, and they were like, oh, we're on Twitter, we better post that we're having dinner.
Mm-hmm. And then it turned out to be this.
Then it turned out to be a legitimate platform that is widely used. It's still widely used. Okay. But again, we talked about already, photographers, whatever. But, you know, just because it's a new platform doesn't mean that you need to put it down. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a younger viewers and stuff, but
yeah, and it's one
fun.
of those,
It's, for me, like I will use it if I want my phone, I send pictures, I send animated GIFs, I send all sorts of stuff. I had to delete most of my text messages off my phone because it was taking up like 6 or 7 gigs of space on my phone. I kept running out of space. Mm-hmm. So for me, when I just want to send something stupid or silly to one of my friends, I can go on Snapchat, send it to them. It's not taking up space on my phone.
Right. And that was one of those things that I thought that you made a really good. I thought that you made a really good point on people having an audience that purposely interacts with you on the level of Snapchat, which I mean I'm gonna go take a look at it. I'm gonna go install it. It's just I feel like we're at a cusp right now where what's happening is there's a little bit of a social media fatigue. Mm-hmm. I think that there's a lot of different pieces of social media that are kind of coming out right now, and I think that for mind share. There are so many different people that are out in that space yelling for mind share that we've gotten to a point that once you yell and this person yells and this person yells and this person yells, when everybody yells, then and all you have to do is compete. You can compete on volume, right? And then you raise your volume, and then when everybody raises their volume, then all you can do is just yell something completely different. Mm. Right, yell something incendiary, right? And it's kind of like what's happened on Facebook, right? You started with this entire, you'll never believe what's next. You'll never believe what's next. Here's this one type of thing. You'll never believe what's next. Once everybody got to the you never believe what's next, now all of a sudden it's kind of, we're on the shame level of things. Now it's like, I can't believe these people did this. I can't believe these people did this. And what happens is all of that noise, at one point or another, people are just like, that's it, I'm done. I don't want to be able to deal with this stuff anymore.
It's like the clickbait stuff. This happened, but you won't believe what happens next. Mm-hmm. And you got to click to find out.
Mm-hmm. So, and I think that within that, and it's not that I'm negative about it. It's because people are like, man, why are you so depressed? It's not a question of it being depressing. It's just a question of I'm just at a point where I'm like, I just want to jump off the rat wheel. I just want to jump off the rat wheel, and I just want to just do something that I think is going to be cool for me. And I think that if I could
rather than just producing content to produce content, you want to be producing something that is worthwhile, that is meaningful to you, and you hope will be meaningful to the people that follow you, rather than just spit stuff out and hopefully gain a new follower with each post.
Yeah, and that's it. And I think that what happens is you're going to get a certain level of engagement that comes with most of that stuff. And I think that audience is all well and good. Guess what? I know people out there that are doing YouTube videos that are like, this is the best photography, this is the best photography, this is this. And you just become louder and more obnoxious. And the more louder and the more obnoxious you become, the more views you get. I can guarantee you there's no money in that. And it is very, very short-lived. And I don't want to be the guy that's just selling empty stuff. So, if there's an overarching thing that we talked about versus personal versus branding, obviously you guys know the end of the story was going to be you need to kind of mix a little bit of both into it. But consider these as new platforms, right? Consider Snapchat as a new platform. You know, I was looking at it as just kind of very, very small. You have to build an audience. That audience is going to be able to kind of directly interact with you. Okay, that seems like it's interesting. Instagram's kind of becoming this professional, it's like a mobile Behance at this point. Can you trust it? Can you not trust it? It's up to you. Any other platforms?
Do you want to talk about, we were mostly talking about social media, like apps and stuff, but we can touch on Flickr and 500px for a second if you want.
Yeah, Flickr versus 500px. 500px is a great platform website for you to kind of have a portfolio of images. Right. I think a portfolio of images is something that's really, really good. I don't post nowhere near as much stuff as I would want to on 500px because I think that people that are posting on 500px have really good game. Mm-hmm. So I'm posting to be with people that I think are at my level or peers or hope to be my peers, or I hope to be their peers in that photography space. So I don't post nowhere near as much on that. Flickr, on the other side, I think is just like a photography hive. Mm-hmm. Right, there's tons of photography that happens there. So I'll tend to post a little bit more frequently on Flickr, and I use Flickr more than I do 500px because of that.
So I think that I don't know if it's still there or not, but I know that at one point had kind of an association with Getty, right? Mm-hmm. So that I don't know if that's still in place or not, but like I know that there are people who go on Flickr and they look for pictures and they will license pictures, and if they see that you're consistent, possibly hire you. So it's one of those things of it's a photo website. It's probably, as far as photo websites go, probably the most well-known one in the world. Like you don't say Flickr and people go, what? Like they know what Flickr is. So it's one of the things, if you're on there, you know, it's free. So why wouldn't you be on there? Why wouldn't you be posting? Doesn't hurt.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt. So,
sure.
and the bigger community, I think, of people of different ranges, the more you're going to be able to stand out. Yeah. Last one that people posted, and somebody had said something about LinkedIn. Forget LinkedIn. It's another waste of time.
I'm not on it, so I'm not going to speak to it.
It's a professional thing. The only thing that I can tell you about LinkedIn is my experience with LinkedIn. And I said this in a class that I did in DC, and everybody was like, brr, brr, brr. Anytime I see something that comes from somebody at LinkedIn, the first thing that I think to myself is, oh man, those guys lost their job. Now what? It's like anybody sends me a connection on LinkedIn, what'll happen is immediately I think they got laid off, they got fired, they left, or they're looking for a job. Because it's a business professional network.
And again, I'm not on it, so I'm not going to speak to it. But that could also have changed. That
Dude,
might not be. The
I don't
case
even
anymore.
use. I try not to use LinkedIn now here, because I don't want my HR director seeing me on LinkedIn and go, is he thinking about leaving for another job? Like I had that conversation with my HR director. I was like, listen, we're talking about social media platforms. We're doing this kind of stuff. Like, should I get a membership on LinkedIn? You know, work with our vendors, work with different things. And I was like, I'm telling you now, because I don't want you to all of a sudden see update on LinkedIn, and have you be like, is he leaving? Is he getting another job? You know, so I'm very sensitive to it.
Right.
It is a job seeking board.
And then I also saw somebody ask about YouTube. Depending on what type of photography you do, I know that it can be useful for if you're going to be doing like tutorial videos or whatever, like post-processing, Lightroom, Photoshop, whatever. Of course, we would rather you come to Kelby One and watch our videos.
Absolutely.
On that side. But yeah, I mean, people use YouTube for stuff. Just from a purely photography standpoint, I don't really know what a freelance photographer would necessarily do.
Aside from behind the scenes and slideshows.
Behind the scenes, or if you're doing, like a slideshow of images.
Yeah, I like to not have my slideshows. On my website because people kind of hate it because I put music to it and all that kind of stuff. So if I make my slideshows and I put them on YouTube, I think that that's a really, really good thing. That's pretty much it. Like YouTube is just for me, just kind of, it's a great platform. It's a big platform. It's a giant platform. But yeah, on a training standpoint, I would tell you that a lot of the times I try not to look up a lot of stuff there because, I mean, that's what we do here on a day-to-day basis. I think we do a really good job at that stuff. If you haven't seen it, go take a look at it. That's my day job. My day job's to teach. Go look there.
I will say this. I've got another music photographer buddy of mine, Adam Elmachias, and he's constantly out on the road with different bands and stuff. And he's got let's see how many people he's got following on YouTube. Where's that at even?
What was that?
Can you see like how many followers?
Oh, Adam Elmachias?
Yeah.
On his about page, you should be able to see it.
So yeah, he's got a decent number of subscribers there, and then he does all these videos of like life of a music photographer. He has a workshop he did on Warped Tour. I know that a lot of times like he has this cat named Mark that's part of his, like, people know Mark, who Mark is, but he'll do like point of view photo shoot stuff. He'll put a GoPro on his camera and show like here's this photo shoot that we did. If you want to see, kind of how that happened, here that is. So, so all that to say, photographers can use YouTube, but like you said, it's kind of behind the scenes type stuff and just things like that. So anyway,
I'm trying to find one guy that I absolutely loved, and I feel that's what it was. If you go on YouTube and type in Darius, this guy is really cool. I'm gonna try to bring this up from a filmmaking standpoint. If there was somebody that I'm enjoying quite a bit, it's this guy right here, Darius Britt. Darius Britt, he has a channel called D4 Darius. Great concept. I think he's got a really good sensibility about how to be able to talk and what to do, and he talks about all sorts of different things on filmmaking. So I've enjoyed his channel immensely, and if you're a person that's looking into filmmaking stuff, I think he's really, really good. So I would recommend to you to do that. I would also go to B&H, truthfully. B&H has got a lot of really good videos. We do a lot of videos for them, and there's a lot of these small pieces that we do that go on there that people don't know about. You know, so I tell people all the time, check out the B&H side, take a look at all of the stuff that they have here. They have really nice in-depth videos on just gear. The last one that I love for this on the YouTube side is I'm trying to call it a Digital Rev.
Oh yeah, for sure.
If you go to Digital Rev, I absolutely love these guys. So digitalrev.tv.
Yeah, Kai is hilarious.
You know, it's one of those things where it's like I'll go in and I'll jump in and I'll take a look, and they've got some great videos. Those would be my 3 picks on most of that stuff.
I feel like they're kind of the Top Gear of photography.
Yes, I think they're really good, really good. So I dig those guys quite a bit. But anyway, we have a PeachPit ebook deal. Make sure you go to peachpit.com/Kelby1. You can get 40% off this ebook deal. Burn Your Portfolio. Stuff they don't teach you in design school, but should, by Michael Janita. So if you want 40% off of that ebook, that's the best place for you to go. That's pretty much it.
Do that, enter the code Kelby1.
Enter in the code, peachpit.com/Kelby1, and enter in the code Kelby1. There's a couple of new classes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple of new classes that are coming out.
So we've got Moose who did an air-to-air photography class. Moose Peterson there, you know, aviation photographer extraordinaire. And then Scott Kelby did a location light, and yes, that is spelled how we want it to be spelled because it's on a budget, so it's very like low gear, all that sort of stuff. So it's I was there for that class, so it's a good one. He even shows you at the end how some retouching stuff. So. Yeah.
Somebody just Stephanie just wrote, bring Kai to the grid and Lamb.
I would
Dude,
love
if they were here, I would be like,
them.
come on the grid immediately. So, Kai, that's an open invite. If you want to be able to show up,
Yes.
man, absolutely, please do so.
And if you ever want to do a Scott Kelby guest blog, by all means.
I gotta reach out to him.
know.
I'm gonna go reach out to them because I think they'd be really good. I don't think we just have, like in general, we'll just say, well, like, listen, what's up? Do you guys wanna?
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll figure it out. Thanks so much, Brad. Now, this was a Brad Moore kind of concoction. It was one of those things where we're working on a bunch of stuff, and Brad turned around and said, you know what, why don't we talk about personal versus professional and just have a chat and bring up the social media thing. So this is a really good topic. More questions than answers.
Right, but it's
a good thing. It's something that leaves you with thinking about. And thanks to you guys for stopping by. If you want to see more about me, make sure you go to aboutrc.com. Brad, where can they see more of your stuff?
Be More Visuals is what I am on all the social media stuff. But you can get to my website. If you can't remember Be More Visuals for whatever reason, go to Brad's Beard or bradtakespictures.com.
Nice. All right. Well, thanks to all of you guys for stopping by. We'll see you guys next week right here on The Grid. Take care.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
And gals.
And gals.